19th century battle rifles, and in some ways they really suck. That's the way it is. Now, oh, here's that. Scope to Mosin. Look at how beautiful this thing is. Awesome. I'm still working on this one too. Oh, right, dude. Awesome. So I'm just about 2 inches to the right. Up and down is really good. Let me see if I can show you guys. I'm not even making it up. Look at this. So we're looking at this green one right here. See the hits? That's a hit. Hit. Let me say this right out the gate. I am going to beat on the Mosin Nagant, the Mosin Nagant, just a little bit in this video. I gotta do it. I have to impart truth here in the project as I see it. It is a calling I have. I don't pander in YouTube. I never have. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is putting out a video that you know the majority of the viewers will love. And if you put out something very positive about a beloved gun like the Mosin Nagant, as I call it, it will be well received and you will get lauded. I just don't do that. It has a lot of great features. I've talked about them through the years, but where I'm at now reinforces what I said in my original review entitled something like the $100 30-aught 6 posted way back when here in TMP. I made the point then, and I'm really going to hammer it home now. If you are a dude looking for a bolt action rifle for recreation, hunting, target practice, WROL, whatever, I would look very carefully at the Mosin formula, as I will call it in this video, and see if it makes sense for you. I think if you lay all the cards out on the table, which I'm going to do in this video, it's the whole purpose of this video, I think you'll find it fascinating. You probably should not buy a Mosin. What? Well, again, there's that whole pandering thing I'm talking about. I mean, you know, I don't apologize for that opinion at all. And at this point, I have a lot of shooting on Mosins, and more importantly, a lot of shop time modding them, trying to bring them up to performance standards that I myself am happy with. That is a foundation of this video. I want it to perform like a modern bolt action gun, even though it is a 19th century wartime battle rifle. That's what I want. And so that means as a gear modifier, which I'm known for, I modify everything to better suit my standards, whether it's a motorcycle, a pistol, a rifle, a knife, whatever. I modify everything. So I'm happy with it, and perhaps it gives me a sense of pride and ownership. I've spent a lot of time, probably more time doing it on the Mosin than any other gun system in TMP that I've ever worked with, ever reviewed. It's been very frustrating because projects that I thought would work out on a particular gun did not work out, and I ended up spending an inordinate amount of time on bringing these guns up to speed, whether you're talking trigger systems, stock systems, sight modifications, zeroing the gun, refinishing the stocks. I've shown some of this and just a small part of it in TMP through the years. So I'm going to say, if you're a dude looking for a bolt action rifle, let's say you have, I want to be kind of generous. I'm going to say you have $700 and you want a bolt action rifle in a major caliber for the purposes I just mentioned. Nut and Fancy, what gun should I buy? Well, I'm going to knock this out right now. Is a lot of people, including myself, are attracted to the Mosin because of the cheapness of the centerfire ammunition. So I think these are LPS rounds in this cheap case right here. You can still buy this stuff, and it is pretty inexpensive, and it performs pretty close to 30-06 specification. It's super fun to shoot. It's deadly. It's a great cartridge, especially for the money. That's not something I'm going to ignore throughout the video. I'm not going to pretend like the ammunition is not cheap. I'm going to factor that in. Another thing I want to factor in, this looks cooler if I pull these out, so I'll do that, is let's say you're a dude that's going to buy a Mosin and you will leave it in relatively stock or perhaps completely stock configuration. You're not going to do a trigger mod, a stock mod, a sight modification. You're happy with it, out of the cosmoling. Maybe you degrease your gun and you call it good. In that particular situation, and there's another I'll talk about here in a second, I think a Mosin is a very smart purchase. Very smart. Perhaps you're not like me. Perhaps you're like, hey dude, I don't need it to come up to, modern bolt action standards. I'm happy with its quirks. I'm happy how it shoots. It's fine. I can live with all of that. In that case, I say thumbs up. Mosin is a super smart choice. It's a great choice for WROL, loaner rifle. Perhaps you have people you'll have to arm up. You don't have an arm and a leg to go out and buy different weapon systems. If and when you decide to do such a thing, Mosins. You get a Mosin for 150 bucks, some ammo, zero it as best you can, degrease it, done. Super smart. I would totally recommend a Mosin over any bolt action rifle, especially the value bolt action rifles, of which you'll be seeing clips of as we've tested them throughout the years here in the Nut and Fancy project. Part 2 of that is, if you like modifying your Mosin, and there's all types of modifications, stock mods, guys that have turned them into long-range precision shooters, everything you can imagine, cutting the barrel down, threading it, suppressing it, the sky's the limit. You can find all of that on the interweb. Then I think the Mosin is a great choice for you. So I'm going to modify it. I like it. It's a second kind of cool, as these guns were for me. And they still are. These are all TMP guns. And by the way, you should know this. I'm not planning on selling any of them now. They're going to stay. I love the Mosin the way they're set up. It's just taking me a lot of time and money to get them to this point. Some of them. Subject to change. I may sell all of them later. We've sold a lot of guns through FFLs this year. So if you fall into those two categories, you're going to leave it basically stock, or you want a project gun, Mosin Nagant, great choice. Great choice. The focus of this video, though, comes down to this. You have that, what did I say, $600? Let's say $700. I think I said 7. As a consumer, would you go out and buy a Mosin with some ammunition, or would I go out and buy one of the many outstanding value bolt action rifles put out by pretty much every manufacturer? I'll list some. I'm not going to review them here. Some I have reviewed. You can look those reviews up. Like the Ruger American. Great gun. The Savage Axis. Great gun. And I'm going to go fast on these. Remington 770, TC Venture, Weatherby Vanguard. 2 series is currently out. the Howa, and a lot of different flavors. Howa is such a great gun. The Marlin X7, the Mossberg ATR, just to name a few. A lot of those rifles, by the way, you can have for, I don't know, $300 to $500. A lot less than $500. Some you can get even below $300. My admonition to you, Mr. Consumer, looking for that bolt action rifle for whatever your purpose is, go buy that modern bolt action gun and be happy. What? What? How can you say that, Nutton? I love my Mosin. I get it. I get it. And this is how I can say it. So I've set up the foundation. Here's the case building coming at you right now. And I'm going to start off with reliability. I've shot Mosins for a number of years now in run and gun situations at the range. It is almost without fail that I don't see a reliability problem with all the guns. Now, you might say, well, that's just because you don't know what you're doing. Whoever the shooter is. You know, you're an idiot. You don't know how to load it and fire it. Not true. Totally not true at all, to say the least. Lots of trigger time on them. I know how to load it. I know how to push the rimmed cartridges all the way back into the magazine box so you don't get rim locked. On occasion, I've used stripper clips with varying amounts of success. I think they're a total hassle. I usually just hand load it. But check this out. Today at the range, this gun right here had a malfunction I've never seen before. And again, I'm an experienced shooter, but maybe I'm distracted. Maybe I'm thinking about the groups. Maybe I'm thinking about my sight adjustments. Maybe I'm thinking about my wind correction. There's a bazillion things I could be thinking about other than making sure I push that rimmed battle cartridge all the way back to the end of the magazine box. You know, whatever happened, I tried to rack around out of the magazine box and it got stuck on the shell lifter like I've never seen before. And I'm going to roll in a photo on that. I mean, it was a brutal malfunction. I could not clear it. The rim was stuck on the shell lifter. I tried wrenching it out. I got my Swiss Army knife cadet out. Yeah, I ended up getting a pair of vice grips and I destroyed the whole casing and pulled it out that way. And it took me about 5 minutes to clear the jam. You know, say what you want. It is not as reliable, not even close to a well-designed modern bolt-action rifle. A lot of that, you can attribute it to the rimmed cartridge. How many rimmed cartridges, you know, battle rifle-wise, do you see in the world as a standard adopted military caliber? There's a couple oddballs out there, but it was pretty much abandoned for rimless. I wonder why. Reliability is one reason. The design of the magazine boxes, a different reason. But look around. I mean, if rimmed was so great, your AR-15 would have a rimmed cartridge. The AK would have a rimmed cartridge. It doesn't. All kinds of reliability issues. The magazine boxes getting jacked up. The rounds aren't feeding. Rim lock after rim lock. And this is both with experienced and inexperienced shooters. In an inexperienced shooter, I mean, you're talking about a loaner gun that you give the Mosin to your dude. Hey, shoot this. He's probably going to have a rim lock issue. It could be a bad thing depending on what's going on. I'm just telling you our experience. I mean, we've shown a lot of video to this point. Can you run them reliably? Absolutely. But when you load it, dude, we're going to make sure we put that round all the way back, slide it down, and then load it securely and with authority. Now, once you get that in, as far as ignition going off, the trigger, that has been reliable. It's mostly a feeding issue I'm talking about. So they usually go boom off of that. But I think part of reliability, or maybe it's ergonomics, but I'll put it here in reliability, is the stickiness of the bolts. I have fired Mosins, which have had a total chamber cleaning, in case you're wondering if that did happen. Every gun is completely degreased, spun clean with a wire brush, all that stuff. I've been doing that for a decade. Totally clean Mosin, and the bolt will stick. That's kind of a reliability issue. So much that you have to slam the bolt up, bang on it, jack it out, and it takes, I don't know, 10 seconds to load it in a new cartridge. But that's because the shooter sucks, Nuttin. No, it isn't. It's because the gun kind of sucks. It's a 19th century bolt action rifle. You know, do you have a case expansion? Did it, you know, do this, do that? Who knows? Who cares? It's a very hard extraction process with a lot of Mosins. This gun's like that. It extracts very hard. I mean, the bolt has to be slapped. Maybe I can find some video of me doing just that. And it's infuriating. These two guns run smooth. Oh, and by the way, this one has a polished bolt. This one does. Sent it off, got it custom polished, bent bolt knob, angled bolt knob, I should say, and it did it. You know, that's a stock bolt. Well, not stock. I have a bent bolt knob modification on every one of these guns, which I will talk about. Yeah, it's an issue, man. You give it to a shooter of a slight build, they're not familiar with it. I honestly don't think they can run it because it has to be slapped around. It does. Like, we had a shooter one time, he said, yeah, it has to be slapped around like a Russian mail order bride. His words, not mine. That's what he said. We're not PC here, so that's pretty funny. Yeah, you've got to work to run the gun. Reliability. So I will give the nod definitely to any other one of those guns I enumerated. Any other ones like it, they're going to be more reliable. Out of box, they're going to run smooth. That doesn't mean they won't have an occasional problem. I've seen problems with Remingtons. I've seen them with Savages. But it's generally the exception, not the rule. Next up, we're talking why I would buy a value bolt-action rifle over a Mosin. Accuracy. Now, you might think I'm getting ready to thump on the Mosin for accuracy. And here, keeping it truthful, not pandering, but truthful, I'm actually going to call this one a draw. You might be surprised. What? Yeah, it is, because I've shot the Savages, the Rugers, and I don't think they are supremely accurate. They're going to shoot about 2 to 3 inches at 100 yards. When they get loads they really, really like, they'll shoot about 1.5 inches for those value bolt-action rifles for expensive ammunition. This gun on the table, it's wearing a Rock Solid Industries scope mount that I mounted. Shot this, 3 shots at 100 yards. That was my best group, by the way. I mean, the other groups, there were some much bigger than this, but I just cut that one out because it's easier to store. That's with a 20 power, 30 mil tube Burris wearing millet rings. I would call it a draw. I've gotten some really good groups with Mosins when they have optics on them. For my eyes, with iron sights, now both of these are wearing my Williams peep sight modifications, which I totally love. It's a separate video out on that. I can not even come close to shooting like that at 100 yards. I don't think most shooters could. I would expect a group about like that. Accuracy is therefore a draw because I think these Mosin rounds are generally accurate. You could weigh them according to weight and make them more consistent. I don't think most guys are going to do that. You might be thinking, well, a value bolt-action rifle doesn't have iron sights. For instance, a Savage Axis. And you're right, they don't. But if you did want iron sights on such a gun, it would be an easy proposition to do it. There'll be a lot of different sights that will just easily mill on, kind of like I did with this. You put a front sight on it. So I don't really consider that. And I don't think a lot of people want iron sights on their bolt-action rifles. Without many exceptions, I think most are putting optics on it. I'll call accuracy a draw, though. I think a good shooting Mosin that does not have a shot-out bore, that doesn't have rust issues, although that does not necessarily mean they won't shoot well, can shoot. The problem is sighting systems. Sighting systems. And I guess let's talk about that now. Mounting optics, because that is the other half of accuracy, in my opinion. Yes, we can shoot irons. Yes, there's probably a myriad of videos, guys, bragging about, hey, I'm shooting stock Mosin sights out to this distance. I don't know. But for the average shooter, it's going to be very, very difficult. They're very coarse. The sights that come on Mosins, I'm just kidding around, Mosins. And they will always shoot very, very high at 100 yards. To the point where you're going to either have to remember to compensate and shoot much lower, or you get into the realm of modification like I did with all three of these rifles and fix the problem yourself so it shoots point of aim at 100. Can do it. You know, I could give this to a really good shooter that's good, has good eyes, good fundamentals, and they can shoot a very good group at 100 yards. I have no doubt. But most of us want to put optics on it. For this, I will totally give advantage to modern sporting bolt action rifle. Hands down. There's going to be very inexpensive mounts for these guns, so you can either put a Picatinny rail with 10 MOA, 15 MOA, 20 MOA built into it for a long range adjustment. Could be one piece, two piece mounts, readily available from a multitude of sources, whether you're talking Thompson Contender, Remington, Savage, Ruger, Weatherby, just to name a few. And then you just put rings on it, done. With a Mosin, it's much more complicated. Once upon a time, I liked the forward-mounted scope mount, the brass stacker, which is still a good mount, but I had the screws break multiple times. So you have to remove these screws from your rear sight base, and they are a nightmare to remove, depending on your gun. I've broken several pin punches doing that. Once you get them out, you mount it on here. I'll try to find photographs of it, and you put it on the gun. It's very heavy, adds a lot of weight, and then you have to use an extended eye relief scope, like a pistol scope. Now, early in TMP, I showed that. They shot very accurately. It is a system that works. It has an extremely wide field of view. It is not ideal, however. I am not a fan of the scouting rifle concept, where you have a forward-mounted optic. I never have been. I thought it's always been kind of ridiculous. I've never had a need for that. That's just me. If I need something like that, I'm going to run a reflex sight, a red dot, an EOTech. I'm not going to dick around with a scope. If I need to shoot that fast, a snap shooting situation. Mounting optics on a Mosin is problematic. It just is. There's a bunch of other optics mounts I haven't tried. I did try the brass stacker. I have abandoned that one for the reasons I've talked about. Also, it's been fragile with those little tiny screws. They've broken. It did maintain 0, though. It was a consistent mount. Now I'm trying the Rock Solid Industries pain in the butt to mount thread, drill and tap mount. And it is a nightmare to install because of trying to get it straight to the receiver. This one is mostly straight. I might make an adjustment to it. But it is, as the company's name indicates, rock solid. It doesn't move. You have a Picatinny rail now. I can mount whatever rings I want. It's a standard configuration. You can see, look at how my bell clears that rear sight base perfectly. I got a big light gathering objective on this relatively lightweight scope. I love Burris scopes. They're really good. I have MOA adjustments that I can use there too. Now I have occluded right here, the opening for loading the gun. Since I have a one-piece mount, that is a problem. Can you still load it? Yep, but it's more likely to cause you problems. In other words, rim locking. Hey, you didn't load it right. Rim lock. Modern bolt action gun dominates it. Dominates it. And plus, this is expensive and very time consuming. Another theme you will see repeated throughout the Mosin experience, at least from what I've seen and worked on. Optics, yeah. And there's, like I said, other ways to do it. One I didn't mention in my first Mosin build for TMP, I actually, and this gun, by the way, has the pins knocked out because it was wearing the brass stacker mount, in case you're wondering. But one of the guns, I mounted that red dot right here. Speaking of red dots, and it was a really cool mini mount, but it can only take a 1-inch tube. I've since sold that Mosin. It's gone. Some TMPer has it. Mounting optics, hands down, modern bolt action rifle dominates it. We talked about irons. How about ergonomics? I will say the modern bolt action rifle, whatever flavor you want, blows the Mosin out of the water. It just does. It's not even close. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I can shoot a Mosin and have a great time. I can shoot it for an extended period of time. I don't think my shoulder hurts, even though sometimes I'll put a recoil pad. This is wearing like a Pac Meyer slip-on right here, which I love for extended eye relief from that scope because it's mounted a little bit further aft, and for comfort. I was just trying it. It works out great. Same thing I ran on the Mauser K98. But the stock itself, we're talking ergonomics. The good news is you have a lot of gripping area, so it is a very 19th century bolt-action rifle where they had super long barrels, super long handguards coming all the way here. You have a lot of places to grasp onto. That's good. You don't have a defined pistol grip. That's pretty much bad. No, it isn't. We love it. Well, if it was good, then every modern bolt-action rifle would have this straight pistol grip design, right? The straight stock design. They don't. The reason is because the huge majority of shooters don't like it as much. It's a traditional thing. We can shoot it, do all the time. Length of pull is short. I like it. The length of pull longer. You can correct it like I've shown. There's another way to do it, and that is add a rubber butt pad. But as you will see when we're talking about the Mosin equation, especially with SAWC, everything I put on this gun to make it more ergonomic, more accurate, funner, pride of ownership, adds weight and cost. Next thing you know, you have a 10-pound Mosin. You know, this one's more than that with everything that I have on it. I don't have a weight right off, but it's heavy. Ergonomics, trigger, horrible. Really bad trigger. The stock Mosin Nagant trigger. This one's wearing a Timney, and like I said in that one video, it is a bear to install. You have to remove a ton of wood. Yoda did this one for me. He milled out too much wood. I don't give a crap. It's fine for me. It's a Mosin, man. Good enough. And it was rubbing. So we got to the point with that safety selector that comes on the Timney trigger. And the Timney trigger, by the way, is expensive. About $125. Just cut it out. So it's not, you just get to the point where like, well, just mill it out. I'm tired of it rubbing, having interference issues. Now with this Timney trigger on it, it's excellent. Really excellent. I like it. It pulls well. Expense, time, a lot of time. And now I have a weaker stock because I've milled out a lot of wood through this section here to make the Timney trigger fit. There are some other trigger modifications I won't go into depth about that you can improve the stock one. Maybe it's a spring modification, maybe you're polishing things, and it will provide a slightly improved trigger experience for your Mosin. I haven't experimented with them. I think they're mostly kind of hokey. This one's wearing a trigger shoe that I found somewhere. I'm just trying that. And it's also having a Timney on it. So there's a Timney right there. I do like that trigger shoe. It's kind of cool. You know, just trying stuff for this video. I'm like, well, maybe this transforms the gun. The trigger is an issue. Either deal with it or get ready to spend a lot of time and money to fix it. Now, compared to a modern bolt-action rifle, again, those dominate this. You're talking, you know what, 100+ years of technology. Look at the Savage Axis, for instance. That trigger on there is amazing. The Accu trigger, it is so perfect. Adjustable, but I've never had to adjust a Savage Accu trigger out of box. Has a little blade on it for safety. I think they mostly have fixed the side lockout issues. So like if the gun was cocked and you pressed the trigger hard from the side, it would decock. I think it's still there, but it seemed like it was less predominant in the latest guns I tested. Great trigger. Ruger American copied it. Ruger's like, hey, we like that design. We're going to copy it. And they did. Great triggers. The other guns I mentioned too have excellent triggers. Ergonomics though. Sights we talked about. The stocks on a modern bolt-action rifle, hands down, beat this. They're going to be checkered, full pistol grip, lightweight, synthetic, won't absorb wood, and you don't have to spend a whole day degreasing it. A several day experience in refinishing the stock. Maybe you like watching reruns to The Big Bang Theory and spending your life hand rubbing teak oil into your stock. I don't. I'm talking Mosin stock. But if it's a second kind of cool project thing, I totally get it. Modern bolt-action rifle available with synthetic stock. If you like the wood, get wood. Get wood. I like that. The CZs, for instance, those have excellent stock. Didn't even mention the CZ guns. European walnut, beautiful, beautiful, great shooters, man. Okay, so ergos, smoothness of the bolt. I'll hit here again. Ergonomics, hands down, come in second place. And to fix these things are possible, but I'll just say it right here. It just takes a lot of time. And researching, money. Maybe this thing didn't work. I've gone through that a lot. There you go. And that was my next point, actually, is time. Hey, I love working on my gun. Well, then the Mosin's great for you. Just like I said at the beginning, I was very honest with that. But if you're a busy dude and you're like me and you have a lot of different weapon systems and you do not necessarily want to go out and make the Mosin your preferred project gun, then, you know, go get a freaking Weatherby Vanguard. Done. You know, is it that whole World War II second kind of cool? This was once a battle rifle. Where's it been? History, made in the heat of battle. No, it's not that. But honestly, if you're looking for that and you want a shooter that has fewer problems, I would spend more money. Get a Springfield 1903, a Mauser K98, a Yugo 2447, M1 Garand, M1 Carbine, the list goes on. Those guns to me provide a much more pleasurable shooting experience, albeit much more expensive because of their chamberings. You know? SAWC, size and weight constraints. Mosin versus the modern value bolt action rifle. Which one wins? Which one do you think wins? Mosins are heavy. They were, well, relatively heavy. They're not so heavy that, oh, I can't carry this. Oh, they fought in a lot of wars, World War II, for instance. Very carryable compared to the modern standard, which will be about 7.5 pounds for a medium profile, lighter weight bolt action rifle. They are much heavier. And then, like I said, if you get into doing something like this, fixing your optics problem, maybe some other things, a cheek pad and that, you're going to get a heavier gun still. You know, all the other guns are going to be lighter weight if that is important to you. I think it should be. Unless it's just going to be a range toy. A range toy. Check this out, by the way. So this one was my range companion today. I was very happy how it shot. I zeroed it for 50 yards. You might see the blue electrical tape. I label all the guns, what they're zeroed for, and any other important notes for the shooter. Has one of my refinished stocks on it. And then I found this front sight modification. I forget the dude who makes these. It's a, you know, small time dude, and I really like it. So I pop off the front sight and I install this. It has Allen screws, and this is a perfect example about the time and money thing that I was talking about. Because this front sight did not come with it. All it was a base, and it's actually intended to mate with the Lyman receiver sight for the Mosin, which I don't want to put on my guns. I didn't put on the guns. I just have the Williams WGRS drilled and tapped into the receiver by myself, rear sight with hooded peep, which I love. This gun has it too. What I had to do then is get online and spend time researching sight heights. I measured it and I found this. I forget who makes it. And it worked perfect. I mounted it last night. I laser bore sighted it, and lo and behold, the two matched up. I have full adjustability on the rear sight now, and I'm happy. But it took a long time. And you know, oh, that looks goofy. I actually like the looks. I like the looks. And more importantly, it's about a first kind of cool. I like how it performs. You know, it performs well. Now I have an iron sight picture. I wish I could show this to you. The gun's too long though. That just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, clean, modern sight picture. Like I said at the outset, it's not saying you can't use the stock sights that come with it, but they do have issues. They always shoot high. And I love it when guys roll in it for excuses of why Mosins shoot high. I think a lot of it is internet lore. Nobody really knows. Well, it was designed to shoot high, so the soldiers wouldn't compensate, you know, for drop, and that's the way it was designed. Or it was designed to shoot with a bayonet on it, and that's why. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. The fact is, you're not shooting it with a bayonet on it, and I have done that, by the way. It didn't change the point of impact at all. Not with that particular gun. It was still shooting way high. No. You can put a taller front sight. This is an eBay purchase front sight on this one. I talked about in the shop video. It's a thinner front post. It's excellent, and it is also mated to the rear mounted WGRS. That was a big project. Milling it into the receiver, drilling and tapping it, nightmare. How about the bolt modifications? Well, you know, field stripping, taking down a Mosin, piece of cake, not that hard, you get good at it. But I was thinking, well, I might do optics on this gun. I'm going to do a bent bolt modification on all three of these guns because I wasn't sure which one was going to run a scope. And I like it anyhow. I don't like the straight bolt of a Mosin. I like these. They give you more leverage. They're able to cycle faster. They look better. But each of these is a project. So I take the bolt body off, I get on the internet, spend more time searching out someone who does bolt modifications. I send the bolt off to them. And everyone I've ever used, I'm not going to promote one or the other, has been excellent. They provided great service, fast service. I think the quality of work is superb. I would do it all over again. But it cost me, I don't know, $100 there. And that's another thing we'll talk about as we end, is the value equation. I like it. Do you have to modify your bolt? No, you don't. And this one I had polished, like I was telling you, and it's beautiful. I mean, look at the work this guy did in polish. I'm going to take the bolt out of this one, actually, so you can see it. But it's really weird. So another example of exactly what I'm talking about, I said you'll do something, you think, oh, the results of this is going to be just phenomenal, and then you find out it's not phenomenal at all. For whatever reason, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't work out. But look at the polishing job this dude did on the bolt. It's beautiful, right? Really nice job. And he welded on that bolt knob, modified the one I sent to him. Really nice job. The strength of the Mosins, not in question. Very strong rifle. But let's morph into value. And this is probably the biggest point I want to make. Mosin versus a modern sporting rifle, bolt action rifle. Guy's got $700. He's like, well, I'm going to spend $150 on Mosin. I'm going to buy a tin of ammunition, call it good. If that's indeed what you do, you don't go spending. Again, like I said at the outset, super smart. If you can live with the gun as is. All the quirks, reliability issues, ergonomic issues, SAWC, all that. Hey, I can live with all that. Cool. Rock on. I'm happy for you. But if you go down that slippery slope of modification, you can have easily $1,000 Mosin sitting on your workbench. And that's not counting your time. You know, most people who have careers, jobs, your time's worth money. And if this doesn't, this isn't a second cool thing for you, you got to factor that in. You're spending 20 hours on a Mosin. Is that really how you want to spend your time? But you add in bolt modification, $125 for the trigger. Maybe you have some aluminum bedding pillars. Maybe you have different gizmos to prevent rim lock you put in. Different stock. Maybe you buy a completely different stock for your Mosin. Boom, $1,000. Potentially. Or you could go with a modern bolt action rifle and have all those things taken care of for you. This is good. Out of the box, done. Which way would I go? I would go modern sporting rifle, hands down, for first cool. You want performance, you want accuracy, reliability, ergonomics, not even close. I would not waste my time with a Mosin. There you go. Truth dart. I just wouldn't. Hey, but the ammunition is really inexpensive. I'm still going to go with a modern bolt action rifle. If you want to go with a bolt gun, by the way, I need to throw that in. When I run a 308, I use a sapper. It's very rare that I would say, hey, bolt action gun, that's my weapon of choice. No, I'm going to run the Smith & Wesson M&P 10. Easily get out to 700 yards, lots of firepower, super accurate, super reliable. Why would I dick around with a bolt gun? I wouldn't. Not most philosophies of use, I wouldn't. But for the ammunition cost, I hear you. I hear it's inexpensive. However, I think you'd be a lot better off going out and buying bulk 308 ammo in an FMJ load. I just looked at it tonight. You can easily get a superior load. I'm talking accurate, like Seller & Bellet, American Eagle. What's another one? XM80 for around $500. Stock it up. A lot of guys talk and they go, well, I shoot so much. I don't see it. Everybody that I know that has a Mosin doesn't shoot it at all. I don't see it. I see them shooting their other guns, 22s, AR-15s. The Mosins, for most folks, is just kind of a backup rifle or a recreational rifle. So look very carefully at that ammunition expense. If you're seriously a shooter going through a ton of rounds, and yeah, look at that. But I think you'd be better off buying 2 cases. $1,000 worth of 308 ammo, stocking it up, shoot out of your stash. You'd be a lot better off. You shoot better groups, more ergonomics, all the stuff we talked about. Truth as I see it. Now, like I said, I'm still going to keep my Mosin, especially now. Both these rifles are so nice. especially the one with the Timney. I love shooting it. It's smooth, it's fast, it has the quirks we talked about, loading it and stuff. I can deal with that. Do I look at it as a primary battle rifle for me? Not even close. Not even secondary, tertiary. No, it's more of a recreational TMP review gun. This one, I'm going to do some more work on it, and hopefully I can get that stickiness issue resolved. If not, I'm pitching it. Pitching it. I've spent so much freaking time on these. And you'll notice, by the way, I keep the cleaning rods out. I never need those. This one has it in, I guess. Truth as I see it. Sorry, can't pander, just got to tell you true. All this is subject to change, and I could be completely wrong about all of it. But I don't think I am. After literally thousands of rounds shot out of Mosins over the last 9 years in the nutnfancy project. Thanks for subbing. Thanks for watching. Spend your money wisely. If the Mosin puts a smile on your face, by all means, get it, shoot it, enjoy it. And if it's a second cool thing, mod it to give you pride of ownership like these guns have done for me. However, keep all those things in mind. Keep it real. See ya.